Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, Omnipotent and Merciful, came in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, whom praise I'll forever do. In the name of his messenger, Elijah Muhammad, this is the messenger of covenant, Sulaiman Rahim. Welcome. Sisters and brothers, this is the resurrected nation of Islam. We are told in Scripture and by the messenger Elijah Muhammad himself, the great falling away that would come. And then there'd be a period of about 40 some years, darkness and deception, lies, lies, and more lies. Well, that time is over. That time will be succeeded by the coming of Joshua in Hebrew, Jesus in Greek. That's what the book of Exodus tells us. At that time, the chief demon will be exposed and defeated. The son of perdition, minstrel FARRAKHAN. His lies has finally caught up with him. His fake nation is in decline and free fall. They're reduced to begging for money and followers. Excuse me. So we're not going to waste any more time with them. As I said, that Joshua or Jesus would not waste time with Elijah's followers. He didn't want them. That's what John, reading John. He didn't want any of John's followers. It's like putting new wine in old vessels. You spoil both. So we're not going to waste any more time with them. Like I said, they're in free fall. They're reduced to beg for money. Irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. They gave this swine song a month or so ago. Swine song. He called it swan song. It was 5 hours of total shit buffet. Nothing of any significance said. He just revealed how he's sleeping half with the sisters and pimping them out. Pathetic. Like I said, he's in decline. We're moving on, brothers and sisters. So, this is my first official presentation in this format. I promised last week that we would strive to have a presentation every Saturday between 12 and 1 for about an hour. Technical difficulty this week. Anyway, was able to overcome them. So it's my first official, and barring any unforeseens, and that will be the situation. Every week, 1 hour, and then we think considering Wednesdays and Fridays also. That's to be determined. Something here, brothers and sisters. We need to talk about his current events, things happening right now, and a little history. So first, we're going to talk a little history and a few definitions. In general, well, I don't want to go into a lot of details here. But in general, we have a universe that expands and contracts without end. And it's hard to conceptualize, but our minds tend to look for a beginning of things. But you get into a trap when you think those along those lines in the universe, where you say, well, as Cavey is telling us, there was this big bang, and from that big bang, right, it says the universe was the size of an atom and exploded, and that's now we have what we have. And there's a lot of confusion amongst them about whether the universe will continue expanding until it's nothingness, cold, or it will eventually contract and go back to being what it was in the beginning. But even within that controversy, you get to the problem about the beginning, because if there is this big bang, well, they know the universe is expanding. I mean, that's evident. Right? Well, it's not expanding right now. That's another issue. But the question you have to ask yourself is, well, if there was this beginning, then what sparked the beginning? You see? Because, I mean, if it was nothing, it would remain nothing. So something had to spark it. Then you have to ask yourself, what sparked that? Then you have to say, what sparked that? See, you're getting a mental trap. But it just exists. It's always existed. And will always continue to exist. Wherever. It's like a beating heart. It's constantly beating. That's the universe is like, a beating heart. But in short, the Quran tells us that the heavens and the earth at one time was one. It's like, in other words, all the energy that you see out there, because everything is just energy. Everything is just mathematics. Mathematics is energy. Energy is mathematics. It's the same. It's all it is. It's all just energy. That's all there is. Right? That's expanding and contracting. So all the energy is out there, all those constellations, galaxies, stars. Right? It used to be the atmosphere of the earth. That means the earth was, at that time, was like a gigantic star with the earth at the core. Very hot. Very hot. See? So then we get into this, we expand it as the universe, as the Quran says, and then we rent it, or in other words, we expanded it. The Quran talks about this. So at that time, when it was fully contracted, right? If you understand how pressure works, that means when the pressure on the outside is equal to the pressure on the inside, then everything is still. See? When the pressure on the outside is greater than the pressure on the inside, right, then it collapses the inside. When the pressure on the inside is greater than the pressure on the outside, and the pressure inside is contracting, and that pressure on the outside is getting stronger and stronger and stronger until it equals the pressure on the inside, then it stops. We understand that. So the pressure on this side, right, there's 100, and the pressure on the outside is like 1, but it's contracting. That means it goes to 1, it goes to 2, it goes to 3, it goes to 4, it goes to 5, eventually it gets to 10, and then at that point, all the pressure is there, then it starts expanding again. By the time it's 10 and 10, right, that means the atoms inside, right, and the atoms outside are moving at tremendous speed. That's what pressure works, temperature. The greater pressure, the greater temperature. Atoms move at tremendous speed, 24 billion miles per second inside, but not as fast on the outside because the outside is greater, has greater volume than the inside. So the temperature on the inside is going to be much greater than the temperature on the outside, even though the pressure is the same, because you got greater volume on the outside. So it's like you have 1 billion gallons on the outside, but only 1 billion in the inside, but the pressure is the same. That means the temperature on the inside is much greater. Atoms move around faster and faster and faster. but they're both equal as far as pressure is concerned, but not as far as temperature. So the temperature inside is going to be much greater than the temperature on the outside. It's like our star. In the center of the star, center of our sun, the temperature is much hotter than it is the temperature on the outside. But both of them are balanced. That's why the star is not exploding. Because if it's not, there's going to be an explosion. It's going to be the great crunch or great explosion, great implosion or great explosion. What I'm getting at here is that thought travels 24 billion miles per second. So when full contraction, the inside is moving at 24 billion miles per second. That means they achieve consciousness. But the person outside is not moving that fast. So it doesn't achieve consciousness. But they both have the same pressure. So that means the inside is conscious, or the outside fully conscious, since the pressure is equal. That's where you get Elijah Muhammad's talking about the original man is the maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. This cream represents in the center, rise to the top. See? And therefore we guard the universe because our thought, right, is equal, our thought pressure is equal to the pressure of the universe fully contracted. That's what we're getting at. So I don't want to go in a lot of detail there, but I want to say it to give you some basic history of how we got to where we are now. So now the universe expanding. See, we cause the universe to expand. It's a whole other topic. I'll explain it. I have explained in the presentations out on YouTube, but I'll talk about that maybe another time. But as it's expanding, right? See, at that time, we're like it talks about in the AL-INJIL, Quran, where Iblis says, you made me a fire before, right? So we was fire beings, see? And we was awesome. All that energy that we had, see? But as it started expanding, that energy started decreasing. And it takes 72, KV says 4 billion years, he doesn't know. 72 trillion years, right? Constant expanding, a constant depreciation of energy, right? So we have energy, less energy to where we are right now. See? But that gets into this thing called energy deprivation. What's energy deprivation? That means you get to the point where you don't have enough energy to maintain a civilization. You get to the point where you don't have enough energy to even maintain yourself. Okay. That's energy deprivation. And the earth is designed in such a way, see, because remember, we didn't create the earth, but we formed it. Maker, who made the earth, we didn't create it. The earth was there, but we gave it form. Right? That's what I say. Maker, owner, creator of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Well, I say it that way. So as we get to that point, everything starts breaking down. And the earth is designed in such a way that you have 4 seasons, like 6,000 years of peace, right? It's approximately spring, summer, fall, and winter. And so we just came through the worst winter of our entire history, 6,000 years. Now I'm going to go into a little detail about that. We reached the point where we're under energy deprivation. We don't have enough energy to maintain our civilization, no energy to maintain ourselves even, right? Then that's a recipe for chaos. So, and we have these scientists. See, we like one body, right? With one body, right? It's like a circle, that concentric circle, you know. You have a circle in the center, a circle outside that. It's like when you throw a rock into a lake, you see the different circles come out. You got a circle in the center and the opposite circle. So the one in the center, those are the wisest. You got 24, that's the wisest. And of those 24, 12 are wiser than them. So you got the 12 major scientists, the 12 minor scientists. And inside, the very center, you got the Supreme Being himself. That's the God. See? Okay. So So we have one of this. Okay, let me see about these scientists. As the universe, see, we go through these seasons. And for every season, well, we write history for every 24 to 25,000 years. Future history is not, it's future history. See, right now they're trying to tell you that the scriptures are past. That's how they blind you. They blind you by telling you that, because all the scriptures are for future. Because once that future's over, then you get a new scripture. So the scriptures you read is happening right now into the future until that period of time is over, and then you get a new scripture. They lie to you. That's how they blind you. They blind you by telling you the scriptures of hindsight that already happened in the past when it never did. So therefore you don't see, they took your foresight away from you. Because that's how we have foresight. At any rate, so for that period of time, when the scientist steps up, because he's the best qualified for that period of time, and he's the God for that period of time. He's the God for that period of time. But as Elijah Muhammad taught you, right, that when they write history, they always have to go to the one in the middle, the center one, to make sure they have to get his approval to make sure what they're writing is, he goes along with it. And it says that this one in the center, he's a hermit. He doesn't really show himself to the public. The 24 scientists know who he is, but the rest of people don't know who he is. He keeps himself in the background. He says he's only going to manifest himself during this period of time, right? Because it's the greatest time, a critical time in history, called it tribulation. Well, it's called a time of unprecedented trouble. It's unprecedented. There's no time ever like this. And there's been some very troubling times, like the battle of the gender wars and the expansion wars. Talk about those. I'm not going to talk about that here. But this one is worse. So he manifests himself to get us through this, right? You get lying FARRAKHAN. I'm going yonder. I mean, okay, well, you've been talking this crap for 8 years, taking all this money from people and everything, but now it's time of trouble, and I'm going yonder. I ain't going to be here. What a clown. Anyway. So what happened was, in this period of time of great expansion, the great expansion is not healthy for us because we go through energy deprivation. And then the universe starts contracting. See? And that's like a 6,000-year period. So we as scientists step forward and say, well, what are we going to do about this? And you get that story in the Quran. It says, I'm going to produce a new ruler in the earth. That's Adam. He may commission shed blood, but he be the ruler. So it gets down to dirty water is better than no water. A bad civilization is better than no civilization. And so he made a being, a stripped down version of us that didn't require as much energy that we required. So therefore, that being would not suffer energy deprivation. And so they would have the power to rule. They have the power to rule, right? That's Adam. So for 6,000 years, but his rule was based on guidance because he had to use discipline. And that's another story altogether. He had to be disciplined because, in other words, okay, say you have $1 billion, right? Now you can take and invest that money, $1 million, invest it, and do profitable things, or you go out there and just blow it off. Then you're broke. See? Just part. And that, so they would put under the law because to keep them, because being wicked and weak, right? They would be most likely to just scribble off there, and so they wouldn't be able to rule. In order to rule, they had to be disciplined and invest their energy in ruling instead of investing their energy in getting high, drinking, fornicating, all that kind of stuff. That's what they was given the law. We didn't have the law. That's what the Bible is telling you why we didn't have the law before. The law was given to them. That's the nature of KB, where they came from. Okay. And so now their 6,000 years is over. The 6,000 years over. But I'm trying to bring you up to current times. But they lost, because of their wickedness, they lost 2,000 years off the bat. Forced into Europe, lost 2,000 years in the caves, and they lost another 1,000 years, 1,500 years ago, right? When they declined again, and you had the resurrection of Abraham's Islamic Empire, which they don't want to tell you that, but what you will see on the map, you see the Middle East, you see the pilgrimage, the Mecca, you see Medina, the Kaaba and all that stuff. That was Abraham. Abraham set all that up. Prophet Muhammad they try to make you think Prophet Muhammad did all. No, he just resurrected it. That's chapter 20 of Revelations. He resurrected it. He resurrected what Abraham had built. When people had declined into idolatry, he just cleaned it up. He didn't add anything. See? So that's the nature of Prophet Muhammad. And so he resurrects it, and as a result, he forced the Europeans that lost another 1,000 years. He forced them into Dark Ages. And they was constantly fighting to try to get out of the Dark Ages for 1,000 years. They finally broke out after 1,000 years, just like it says in chapter 20. Then he had two world empires. There'd be two world empires, Gog and Magog. There's only been two European world empires in the last 1,000 years, last 500 years. That's been America and Britain. That identifies who Gog and Magog is, right? And so they were going to see the whole world. See? And at the end, they would go and they would circle the people, right, the holy city, holy places, that would put them in the Dark Ages, right? And then they said they bring fire out of heaven in the sights of men. Well, if heaven is somewhere beyond the sun, moon, and stars in the seven dimensions, how could they do that? It would be inside of men, would it? So they're talking about the Middle East. In the Middle East right now, the skies are dark with drones, right? American drones, British drones, maybe NATO drones, whatever. And they fire missiles daily on the people's heads. That's what it's talking about. And then at that point, they will finally, Gog and Magog will come to its end. That brings us up to now, except for one little thing. We have this thing called a demon plague. It talks about it in the Bible, and you haven't any people talk about that too much, except for me, because it was like a hidden. The Quran talks about the open enemy. So they say, open, it must be a hidden enemy. And that's these demons. Because when they burst out of Europe, they created a whole hybrid of demons. Everybody went. That's a story about the chaff being sowed amongst the wheat, the wolves in sheep clothing. But the chaff amongst wheat gets most illuminating, because it said that evil one sowed his seed, his chaff amongst the wheat. They mixed them up. And they would remain together until the end of harvest time when they'd be separated. And so they were all over the world sowing their seed, because when you understand biology, whatever your father is, you are. That's your nature. Nothing in that egg is going to change that nature of the sperm. The sperm is a living thing, but the egg is a living material, but it's not living thing. The sperm that's you. You're a conscious being, conscious on that level, but you're conscious. You had enough consciousness to go look for the egg, right? Nothing in that egg is going to change your nature. So you're the same nature your father has, period. That's math, that's biology, that's mathematical fact. So when they tell you, oh no, one drop of black blood makes you black, it may make you black, but it doesn't change your nature. If your nature is devil, you're a devil. If your father's a devil, you're a devil, period. Case closed. And Google FARRAKHAN's bio. His father's name is Percival Clark. And they usually have a picture. Look at the picture, see what you see. Tell if he's not a demon or not, the devil. So a demon is one who fathers the devil, but his mother may not be. But the mother could be, because she could be a demon herself. You see? So you got to be careful with that one. See? Because remember, they look like us, they walk like talk than us. Now you got demons in every nation. They spread all over every nation. That's why the source of confusion you have today, because you got, before we had harmony, see, and symbiotic relationships, then suddenly they introduced their demons in there, and all of a sudden then you got confusion, because you got nations clashing, natures clashing. See, And one nature would be towards all this chaos. See? And so that's what you see happening. Because when they came out of Europe, right, they were escaping. Why would they want to escape Europe? Why was Europe so bad? See, Europe was a shithole. They turned to a shithole after 1,000 years. If they were so great and prosperous and innovative and everything else, why didn't they turn Europe into a shining light on the mountain top? No, it was a shithole. Disease, poverty, fighting, right? Tyranny, you name it. That's why they said they were escaping. They didn't say they were escaping Asia. They didn't say they were escaping China. They said they were escaping Europe because one thing was religious persecution. See? Because the shithole, and they say, well, all the other nations was poor and everything. How was that? Okay, answer your question. Would you go to what's what they call it? Homeless shelter? Looking for money? Would you? No. So why was they going all over the world looking for gold? Because they didn't have any, and they knew everybody else had it. See? They turned Europe into shithole, and now they turn the whole world into shithole. Look at it. Climate control, all this stuff. You see? That's what's going on, brothers and sisters. Hold on for a second here. That's what's going on here, brothers and sisters. It didn't make it plain and clear. That's what's going on here. So they spread demons all over the world. That's why you got this confusion. So half is for the indigenous population, and half is hearts towards America. See? Freedom, justice, with no such thing here. That doesn't exist here. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist here. They make you think, you see the movies and everything else, then they come over and they find the reality. It's not that. So that's the confusion that spread all over the world. It's a demon plague that started about 600 years ago. And it was first mostly directed at Africa. Because when they went to Africa, Africans was afraid of them. Because they thought they had leprosy. They never seen white people before. They thought they had leprosy. See? One second here, brother. Says this. Here. Excuse me. They thought they had leprosy. So they kidnapped a lot of black women. And eventually, after a while, they grew up and sent their seed back in. And they was able to go in, spy, and do all the things they're doing now, undetected. And that was the beginning of the demon era. Going about 600 years. Undetected. What's wrong with these people? Why are they acting different? All of a sudden they don't like our country anymore. I don't like our culture anymore. You know, we want democracy. We want this. We want that. And they don't really know what that is. But that's what they want because they got the same nature as their masters have, their daddies have. And so this went on, and it said it would go on until Suleiman would show up. See? Expose them and dispose them. That's what tell you more. He shows up and he exposes the demons, exposes them. And exposes the chief demon. What's your name? Legion. Louis Eugene Grounds, NOI backwards. You can't make that up, brothers and sisters. That's FARRAKHAN's name. He disputes the G part. It was in Grounds. It was walk. I'm not going to waste time with those folks anymore. So it said that would be the biggest plague because that plagued us in our 40-year Holocaust. Horror. It was horrific. Slavery was just a part of it, the economic part of it. If we're just slavery, we might be some kind of reconciliation. That wasn't that. That was an economic part of it. That's capitalism at its best. That's capitalist dream. Maximum profit, minimum overhead. That's what slavery is. But rape, murder, right? Torture, oppression, right? Hanging. Go and look up slavery. Tell them, sure, those definitions apply. They don't. So it's a whitewash. Telling you, whitewash telling you, hey man, that was slavery. No, that was just a small part of it. It's a whitewash. It was the horror cost. 20 years of abject horror, 24/7, 365, 400 times. Or maybe they say maybe 400 million of us suffered through it. And that's a theory. I call the Holocaust a theory. So what happened to you? Well, no theory. That's another way to whitewash because they didn't want to talk about it. They want their children to know what they did. They say, what's a theory? And a lot of blacks going along with that. Oh, it's critical race theory. No, it's not a theory. It's not a theory. That's how they hide behind it. They try to say, well, you know, it didn't happen that way, or it maybe happened, maybe it didn't, right? And so forth, so on. See? That brings us pretty much up to date. See? There's a couple more things there, but these demons, and it says it got so bad with us. See, we got the worst of it because we was actually in captivity, and our women was totally under their control. We had no control of our women. And you couldn't even have any contact with a woman. We couldn't unless master approved it. It was an incentive. If you pick extra bags of clay, cotton, right? Then you got permission to sleep with Sarah on the weekend, maybe. I don't know if you remember that movie Django. He had to kill another black person just to get a beer and just spend a few minutes with Sarah. He had to kill another black man to do it. That was a reward. They tell a little bit of truth there. It was much worse than that. 1,000 times worse. It's unimaginable. It went for 400 years. It's going on now. But the demons, they served a very important part of this whole thing because remember, they was the wolves in sheep clothing. They was once amongst us. That's the ones, they was in master's house. They was allowed in master's house. You call them master or house slaves or whatever, right? Because they was his children, so he trusted them to a degree because they loved them. They loved. The only thing they had an issue with was they weren't accepted like the rest of his children were. So they was in the house. They was the preachers that was telling us to be good, serve master, do what master tell you to do. See? And you'll be rewarded when you go to master's heaven, and then you'll be you be a served master in there because you're still gonna be a slave when you got to heaven. That whole story about Ham and Shem. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go that far, right? But to get to that stage, there's another side of this. See, there's this thing Elijah Muhammad talked about, and it's in the story of Joseph. All those scriptures are for our sake. Because the story of Joseph is the story of us. See, Joseph was deceived by his brothers. See, that's the Arabs. They are brothers. They turn white now, but they used to be black. That's another story, right? They betrayed us because we are the. Okay, I wasn't going to go this far, but I'm going to go into little things here. You got to read the Abrahamic Covenant. It's in both the so-called Old Testament and New Testament. See, they try to tell you that's a past. Even FARRAKHAN tells you that to a certain extent, right? That was the whole purpose of the God coming here in fulfillment of that covenant. The covenant God made with Abraham. Your seed will be strangers. They would sojourn temporarily, and the country is not theirs for 40 years. They'd be enslaved and afflicted for 20 years. And after 40 years, God said that nation would be, not individuals, that whole nation would be judged, and there will be 10 plagues, right? And then you'll be returned home. And the return home part and everything, FARRAKHAN just leaves it out. But I was with Elijah Muhammad from 70 to 75. See? And now we have tapes, not transcripts, tapes, that Muhammad saying, we'll be fools to want to stay here in the land of our imprisonment. FARRAKHAN said, we're not going anywhere. He said, we'll be fools to stay here in the land of our imprisonment. So, keeping that in mind. So, Elijah Muhammad told us that, following the story of Joseph, we came in 1555. But we weren't enslaved, we was imprisoned. Because they had 64 years to prepare us for slavery. FARRAKHAN turns out his head because he's trying to get away from the point that I'm going to make in a minute. So that was a so-called hidden, wink, right? Tongue-in-cheek thing about $6 question. Because we weren't supposed to know about that. So after 64 years, it took 64 years because what they did was they imprisoned a man and female together in the same cage, whatever, right? Well, let me say a couple of things here. See, the story of Joseph, remember, they was fleeing from Europe because they turned shit over, because they didn't know how to do things. Not a farm properly, none of this thing. So the first group they brought there, they had to teach them how to do that stuff. That's the story of Joseph. Because he figured out, told them how to save some days because they was about to have famine and everything else. And that's what we did. How they reward Joseph? They imprisoned, they enslaved his descendants. Same thing they did with us. But anyway, they put those in man and woman in a cell, in whatever, together. And you know what's going to happen. So when they produce a child, they would take the child away. So the child had no connection, no roots, anything to anything. And when they got enough of them, right, they would tell them what they want to tell them. They was totally separated from their parents, never saw them, right? And they was told they was gorillas. See, gorilla, you black just like gorilla. Even though a gorilla's hair is dark, but if you shave him, he's white. So that's what they would tell them. The children had no idea. So after 64 years, they had their first crop of Negro butts. Negro butts. See? Program, the first biological robots. Programmed to self-destruct, programmed not to think, programmed to obey master, right? Not to ask any questions. It's do what you're told. And most important, to self-destruct. Anytime master calls, press it. So the first one come off assembly line, you went in Kunta Kinte, came out Toby. So your name was Toby Richardson. If your slave master name was Richardson, your name was Toby Richardson. If he told you slave master Blackstone, your name became Toby Blackstone. They were not names, they were just indication of ownership. And some of you still walk around with them today. But if you're a demon, that is your name. But if you are a demon, right, then you're foolish, you can walk around those names. So, and then they start bringing the next crop over. And they use this crop to train. And if you watch those root movies, that's what it was doing. They had the old crop to train a new crop, right? See? Because what they know. That's why Kunta Kinte said, man, don't you know freedom? Don't you know anything? I had no idea what he was talking about. Anyway, so that's the situation here. And then, you got the demon plague. So that was, a lot of that was, right? Some of it was just lust. But some was premeditated, thought out. Because they need someone to control us that wasn't them, that looked like us, but report to them. And so they went to work on our women. There was a lust component, but it was premeditated, thought. And so therefore, you got the demons, the preacher. Do what they tell you to do. That's what his message is. You can't read in the Bible, obey master, whatever. Right? You got the traders out there in the field with you, telling what you want to do, reporting to master everything you want to do. Right? You got the entertainers that will entertain you on the weekend and they keep you, right? Because they look like you, right? Keep you somewhat, look forward to something, and all those type of things. I don't want to go into detail, but that's what was going on. And you have a certain process going on today. And it says, because of this, the way they was doing it, they said half of the black people in America are demons. See? Half of them are Negro butts, right? Original, but programmed. I think I brought you up to current times. But what's really current, something happened a couple of years ago, it really underscores this. And it proves everything I'm saying, but they're going full throttle to make sure you don't see it. Remember I said the official date of slavery was 1619. So 1619 to 2019 is 40 years. And just like the scripture says, I told you this is future, it ain't past. They kind of tell, oh, that's past. Okay. Now you might say, oh, it's coincidence. Okay, whatever you want to call it. 1619 to 2019, that's 40 years. What happened in 2020? A plague. Just like I said, it said we'll kill the firstborn, which is another way of saying the elderly, and it will pass over the original people. And that would happen, but they went 24/7, full throttle, trying to convince you that was killing you too, dropping like flies. It wasn't. Because, like I said, anything I tell you, I don't want you to accept it on face value. I want you to go and research it. Go and research the W Health Organization. Google it. And about 2 months ago, somewhere within, but you just search, they published a paper. This is the World Health Organization, or UN, or everybody, right? That's why it's the World Health Organization, because they're supposed to report the health of the world all over the whole world, right? They said that they couldn't understand why, and I'd heard this before, but other people reported, but they shut them down. See, they reported these social media forums. They shut them down. Like they probably shut me down here because I had to go through a lot of trouble to even get this broadcast going today. But they said, and they said that it wasn't affecting Black Africa. It wasn't affecting Haiti. It wasn't affecting places where Black folks predominantly lived at. But somehow we was dropping like flies. So maybe the demons were, but we weren't. I'm 73 years old. I didn't wear a mask or anything. I never got it. And he said, if you get it, and they said then we couldn't get it. It said you wouldn't die from it. Now, that's a fact, brothers and sisters. This ain't no hyperbole. This ain't hyperbole, right? This ain't no rhetoric. No. Designed to get you upset, emotional, so you can check out easily to prove what I'm saying, that the Abrahamic Covenant is a fact. Man's Prophet Muhammad's a fact. Elijah Muhammad's a fact. Everything he says is a fact. FARRAKHAN is a big liar and a deceiver. He didn't see it coming. He's a prophet. He claims he's following Elijah Muhammad. If he was, he should have caught that because Elijah Muhammad taught it. 1619 said that's the official day of slavery. That means you had 40 years that. Then the plague came in. He didn't say that part, but the plague came in exactly on time. I've been saying that for years. Exactly on time. And it's not past all false evil over there because they're catching the worst of it. So that means they're fake. But it's passing over us. Now you can't get away from that. You can call it whatever, you can do whatever, you get frustrated, you start foaming at the mouth, right? You get constipated, whatever. That's your problem. But you can't get away from that fact. And now you got 9 more plays to follow, which is the Armageddon. We're going to get to in a minute. Right on time. And FARRAKHAN didn't see it. It's Royale, La Salas, T.J. Jakes, Agee, Graham. None of these people saw it. But they recognized it once it happened. And they went full throttle to make sure you don't. Because if you recognize and you realize that you choose Abraham, it's all trouble for them. Nothing but trouble for them. Because it throws out their whole, this mythology, this theology mythology that they've been feeding you for 400 years. See? I'm going to talk about that maybe the next time. this shitstorm, right, that we've been under for the last 40 years under the Holocaust. So that happened exactly like I said, and on time. That proves that that scripture is talking about the future and present, not the past. I'm going to close out in a couple of minutes, but I'm going to keep these down to an hour. Everything I say right now is you can easily prove, brothers and sisters. I'm not talking to the demons. I ain't talking to FARRAKHAN's people, because the people that's following FARRAKHAN right now, they're primarily demons, agents to make sure they stay on track. That's another story altogether. Because if you watch that Cotel thing or COINTEL thing, what everybody said they wanted to happen after Elijah Muhammad departed, FARRAKHAN checked every box, gave them everything they asked for. There was no more. Stop. The race hatred, that they call it race hatred. Stop talking about separation. We ain't going nowhere. See? Stop talking about no economic program. Stop building a nation building. No economic program anymore. He gave them everything, checked every one of the dots. Because he's one of them. Legion. I said, you go check his little bio. I said, again, I'm not talking to Abraham's, I'm not talking to FARRAKHAN's people. We don't want them. They had their chance. See? I gave them a chance. See? I've been talking to them for 30 years. They're going to talk and stuff. Then you got all these clowns out here, the vultures and the vipers. I'm with Elijah. They ain't with anybody. But they would recognize this message. It's right there in right in Malachi. There'd be the messenger, right, who preparing the way for the messenger of the covenant, who would suddenly come to his temple. You can't miss that, brother and sister. And then you got this one, right? Because remember, when he comes to his temple, he comes with full, so you got to clean it up. So he's cleaning up Elijah's mess. He's cleaning up the mess Aaron made. But remember, Aaron, right? He had people worshiping the golden calf and everything else. He ended up getting all the people with him killed, including himself. See, but they don't want you to read that part like that. Right? So he comes to full, so to clean it up. But it says, it gives you all kinds of hints there. It says, will a man rob God? Who's robbing? Yeah, you robbed this entire nation. So who's robbing the nation of Islam? It wasn't Elijah Muhammad. It wasn't Master Muhammad showing me, because I haven't asked you for a penny. No one's ever given me a penny yet. Because I don't ask for it. And plus, they don't know how to give it to me if they wanted to. Because it's a free gift. You already paid the price. You paid when the 40 years of Holocaust. You don't need to pay anymore. You pay his clown. You give him money. FARRAKHAN asked begging money, economic plan for 42 years. Read about the son of perdition. That's why the son of hell. Because that's what demons, the devils are hell. That's why he's the son of hell. He's son of a demon. He been begging for money and he ain't produced nothing. Where's the economic program? Where is it? Where's economics? And when he got busted, see, then he comes out and say, because he said, I'm trying to keep the word here. Oh, we ain't about economics no more, man. We about self-development. Oh, that's where Sunnism come in. That's where Scientology comes in. Sunnism. Elijah Muhammad wouldn't let them into the temple. But now he going, you have you on your knees praying to some Sunni mystery God, right? Who calls your God a fraud and your master a liar, and you got him on your knees praying to them. And that's what the golden calf is, but I'm not going to go into that kind of detail today. I can prove it. That's where we are right now. And then we're in a time of great trouble, but you don't see so-called the anointed FARRAKHAN, right? The prophet, the master prophet, telling you what the hell to do. I mean, the last I heard, he said, pray. Oh, you got to pray. But then, Master Muhammad prays too. And I have kind of, wait, prove to me that he said that. I prove it, then it goes away. We got the tapes. You can easily check it out. Just go check. Go check out the so-called Ramadan last year. When Ishmael was going to tell people how to pray, they talk about, that's from how to pray. I said, wait a minute, I thought he was the God. Who is he praying to? We need to cut the middleman. We need to talk to the one that. Because now, Master Muhammad, this is his time. He's the scientist that's going to take, and he was made the way he was made so he would not suffer energy deprivation. He was given a Caucasian body so he wouldn't suffer energy deprivation. So he can go in and do the work he needs to do. See, we still suffer energy. We suffer energy, self-imposed energy deprivation now since 1948. But Master Muhammad came here in the early 20s and then 30s, right? He said he came in and out, right? And we were still suffering energy deprivation then, but he wasn't. That's why I said the body had to be prepared. See? So he has that body, but he has a discipline to keep it under control. All this is science, brothers and sisters. This is biological science. All this is science. And then it says, after it said Elijah would go for about 40 years, and then when he depart, right? Then Aaron would take over, and he would just mess up everything. And that's what it called the son of perdition, because how long the son of perdition would go 40 days, which means 40 some years, deceiving the people. And then it says, who's the Lord? Until my Suleiman would come and consume him with the spirit of his mouth. Let me reveal and expose him and destroy him when he's manifest what's about to happen. I don't want to talk about them anymore. They're erased. They're irrelevant. I don't even have to talk about them anymore because they're in free fall. I've already done my job with them. They introduced just beg for money now. And they're going to be losing bigger followers because they're paying people off to give them tells lies when they can't afford to pay them off. What they're going to do? They're going to turn on them. Said they're going to be destroyed from within. So now that brought us up to date. Let me go a little bit into the future here. Okay. We're talking about Armageddon. Most of you don't know what that is. I think that's what's going on in the beginning of it. Is the Ukraine and Russia. No, that falls in the category of wars and rumors of wars. That's not Armageddon. It's not going to spark Armageddon. See? I'm not going to have a result. That's not the point. That's not it. It falls in the category of wars and rumors of wars. That's where we are right now. Right? Okay. However, the war that will be spark it is that's in chapter 12. Michael and his angels. He said they can tell who Michael is. But Michael's the one that delivers us. So unless there's going to be two deliverers, Michael must be Master Farrakhan Muhammad. It's Michael's angels. Who's his angels? See? He's their 12th imam, or the seer. They are his angels. That's why I said the dragon's angels are going to war with the dragon. Who's the dragon? And his angels. Who's over there? Who's got the power over there? Who's got control over there? False Israel, America, Britain, and House of Saud. They're not even Arabs. They pretend to be Arabs, the Indians. That's another story altogether. But the reason why they refer to as dragon's angels, because they were empowered, because they got so much energy from Sunni Arabia all these years. Whoever has the most energy has the most power. So they was getting, in return for guaranteeing their control of the oil and all that wealth, right? In return of forgiving America, Britain, and false Israel, and so forth, but they don't give a directly to false Israel. It may be done at the table. In return for giving all that, then they will be guaranteed their seat on control of all that wealth over there, on the seat of houses, the seat of Mecca. In control of the Sunniism. That's why I refer to them as dragon's angels. And so they go into war. The war broke out in heaven, which is about to happen. Happen any day now. And that war result, because it said the dragon and his angels were thrown out. America and Britain is going to, that's Gog and Magog, is going to be defeated and thrown out, leaving false Israel under siege and ultimately destroyed, which is called the abomination of desolation. Remember that, brothers and sisters, because you might not think of it now, but you need to keep it in the back of your mind, because it said when you see it, flee. Where are you fleeing from? You're fleeing from your next door neighbor because they say you ain't got time to go back to your house. But they're going to see the same thing you see. But they're going to have a whole different interpretation of it. But they're going to see it as their destruction and you as the cause of it. So take this in mind. Jerusalem is capital of who? Is it capital of Arabia? Is it capital of Iraq? Is it capital of Palestinians? No, it's capital of false Israel. Who controls it? Does Lebanon control it? Jordan control it? Or does false Israel control it? So what does this mean here? When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, see, they don't want to teach you this kind of stuff. You see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you know its destruction is near. That means Jerusalem surrounded by armies. That means false Israel, when you see them surrounded by armies, that means they're going to be destroyed. But if they truly save him, that's impossible. Because God said, once they return, they will be returned forever. They'll never be cast down again. But now they're being destroyed. It says their destruction. It say their redemption or their punishment, chastisement, their destruction. That's no clearer than that. That means they're false. They're not real. And so when they go down, they're actually shock waves through the world. It's going to turn the world upside down mentally. And it's going to reveal that you the true seed of Abraham. That means that these people over here ain't good and good people because they've been beaten and tormenting and horrific behavior against us for 20 years. That means they're devils. They're not good people. That's what that means. That means we ain't Ham, Ham's cursed black son. That's how we got black, because Ham did some immoral act, they say, when he was Noah's son, right? And so his seed, Ham, became cursed black and to be slaves forever. That's us. That's their story. So they didn't do anything wrong by enslaving us. And then they say they're spiritually Abraham, so it means this was a promised land. So taking this wasn't no wrong with that either. You see? So their mindset, they're doing God's works. That's why I tell you, man, we're the greatest. God loves us. God bless us. That's why I say all that stuff. But then that turns on the head if we try to be true to Abraham. That means they stole this land with genocide, murder, theft. It says the devils will do what? Go out to steal, kill, and destroy. That's where identify them. Kill, steal, and destroy. How did they get this land? Did they get it on a voucher? On a gift? Valentine's gift? Or they steal it? Where do the inhabitants? They take them and put them on a charter flight to Jamaica? Or they kill them? What do they do to us? They brought us over here and turn us into angels? Or they destroyed us? These things are clear, brothers and sisters. So I said, I want to use this session here just to lay out the background of the things we've been talking about. Understand history. Everything I said, you can prove. I don't care whether you disagree or not. It's facts. If you disagree with facts, that's on you. Okay, we're about to wrap this up, brothers and sisters. But when they take false Israel down, that's going to send shockwaves. All these evangelists, they're going to understand what that means, just like they knew what COVID meant. They didn't tell you. And you know what that means, right? That means, remember, it's 10 plagues, 7 more plagues, 9 more plagues to come. And those plagues, that's Armageddon. See, this whole thing is apocalypse. But Armageddon is just one aspect of it. That's the plagues, and there's going to be a whole lot of things happening there. But they're going once they defeat it in the Middle East, that's what's going to trigger Armageddon. And so now, when false Israel goes down, they all could be in full-fledged fight over in Europe. See? So they're going to have all these things, because that's the plague, Armageddon. So now, all these things are happening. They got insurrection here. I'm not talking about that here. They got all kinds of things going on. And they see America's it's in free fall. You already see it now. See? And there's going to be starvation, and there's going to be all that stuff sitting in. And then the final blow is, bam! Not the final blow, but the blow that blows that crush their minds is when false Israel goes down. That's their last hope, because they're saying, well, when false Israel was under distress and about to be defeated, about to destroy, that's when Jesus is going to come back and save everybody, get rid of all the Muslims over there. And see, that's the final hope. See, that's going to be a rapture and all that. But then when that don't happen, the false Israel goes down, the hope is lost. And reality sets in. That they ain't who they say they were, and we're not who they said we were. And that all this happened because of us. Because we chose Abraham, and the process being fulfilled because of us. See? And the word is going to go out there and envelop our community. This deal is going to go down, and that's why you got to flee. Because your next door neighbor's going to cut your throat. Maybe the one sleeping in bed with somebody stupid enough to be sleeping in bed with them. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So I think I brought you up to date. I'm talking a little bit in the future. A little bit. But this war is about to break out any day in the Middle East. That's going to trigger Armageddon. It's also going to start the abomination of desolation. We see Jerusalem surrounded by armies. When that happens, it's going to trigger Armageddon. It's going to trigger insurrection and the resurrection of our people. Because that shock is going to be so great. But see, our people right now, they're in a heart mode. See, they're not in a mental mode. Because remember, they're programmed not to think. See? So all this lies they telling you, the Christianity, all that kind of stuff, that's heart-based. The mind would never accept that. Because the mind said, that doesn't make no sense. But they appeal to the heart. That's why you go to the churches, and there's nothing mental there. It's all harmony, playing music, all kind of entertainment. Because they speak to the heart. But see, the heart knows fear. The mind don't. Like a deer frozen with headlights. It's afraid. And then that's when it communicates to the mind. Tell what to do. If the mind doesn't know, they just stand there. See, so when you're in fear, that's how we're going to connect. Because our people's minds, that's it. Remember, Daniel said your mind had to be given back to you. In Mark, it says the same thing. The man, demon-possessed man, his mind had to be given back to him. Your mind has been taken away from you. 64 years took away from you. You've been programmed. See? And so when that fear comes, that fear is going to connect to your minds what to do. And then this information I've been giving you is going to become relevant. Those that you have heard it. See? But now you know what to do. That's how we're going to do that. And that's how we're going to that's how Master Muhammad, he's the one who's going to pull that switch. Plus the abomination of desolation, that's going to it's going to short circuit your programming, and that's going to cause the resurrection. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. Assalamu alaikum.